I'm really excited to go on this cruise because I think it'll be much better than just sitting in a classroom all day. It's hands-on, and I'll get a lot more experience out of it.
I hope to be part of the group of people that help push this research forward.
What I hope to get out of this project is to learn more about marine animals as well as learning about the ocean itself.
To get a better understanding of how life in the ocean works.
What I'm looking to get out of this trip is to learn more about the patterns of all these whales.
An understanding of how marine animals interact with one another and how they affect our lives.
I'm looking forward to broadening my horizons as far as what I'm studying.
And not everybody gets an opportunity to go out on a research vessel. It's important to share these experiences with the broader public, especially from a student perspective.
If I can inspire a flicker of interest in something that I'm already interested in, I've done the basic job of passing on a torch to a younger generation.
Not everyone gets a chance to be here at sea on a research cruise, but through the Inner Space Center, now we can bring you with us. Welcome aboard. Hi everybody, welcome to our last broadcast for Endeavor Live. My name is Holly Morin, and I am a marine biologist with the Inner Space Center, and I'll be your host this evening as we learn about the at-sea research oceanographers and a group of URI Honors students are conducting here on board the Endeavor. We'll actually chat with one of those students, Erin Chili, in just a little bit. Right now, we're south of Rhode Island, probably maybe about 40 to 50 miles offshore. The weather has actually quieted down quite a bit compared to what we've been experiencing on previous days. The seas have laid down. It's not nearly as windy. We've had some nice, clear skies. So we've been able to do a lot today, and actually the ship's been quite busy all week long. The students have been involved in deploying a lot of different instruments off the vessel to collect a variety of different types of data. They've been putting bongo nets out in the water. There are two nets that are deployed side by side. They look like two bongo drums, and they're different sized mesh nets that allows them to sample different sized microscopic critters in the water column. Another tool to sample the plankton that they've deployed is called a video plankton recorder, or a VPR. And what that is basically a giant microscope that takes pictures using a strobe light looking at a very small quantity of water, up to 60 images per second. And that allows scientists to look at the plankton that's in the water without having to physically sample out a net, or they can actually correlate those data with what they're seeing in the net, as well as with the acoustics that the scientists have deployed and the students as well. They've been using something called an echo sounder, and that's using underwater sound to visualize what the layers might be in the ocean itself. I want to encourage everybody to definitely type in your questions today as this broadcast is happening. We have Genesis, one of our students here. She's with us. She's going to be relaying all of your questions to us throughout the broadcast. So as those questions come in, type them in on our Facebook page, and those will make their way to us. This is supposed to be a very interactive broadcast. It's at the crux of what the Inner Space Center does. You probably have maybe heard of telepresence, maybe not, but you all have used it. If you've used Skype or Facebook before and connected with friends and family, same concept. But what we do is we don't connect with friends and family. We connect with ships that are out active doing ocean exploration and research. And then we're able to stream their audio and visual data live in real time. And what makes the Inner Space Center incredibly unique is that we're able to take the feeds from multiple ships and stream those out in real time over the internet. One of those ships, the Oceanographic Explorer, actually will be kicking off their season next week, so something to keep track of and check back with us on and follow along. I think we're going to kick things off right now, though, with a short video to introduce you to our students and learn a little bit more about what they were looking forward to on this cruise and the work that they would be doing.
Personally, I think it's really important to communicate all of our findings so everyone has the same access to the same information and knowledge that we do.
Because as a student studying to become a scientist, I want to know what it takes to be a scientist out at sea.
I'm so excited to be participating in this cruise, actually, because I'm really curious about the whales and how their environment works.
I joined this class by accident, but I'm really happy I'm sticking with it because I've been exposed to so many different research methods and opportunities that I normally wouldn't have gotten.
Being from the Cape, I've heard about right whales my whole life, and I'm interested in learning more.
Because I'm really interested in the ocean, mainly because I'm from an island. I'm from Dominican Republic.
There's so many people out there who don't know what they want to do, and if I can inspire a flicker of interest in something that I'm already interested in, I think I've done the basic job of passing on a torch to a younger generation.
I think it's important to communicate science to the general public because we don't always understand how it affects our lives every single day.
To get people inspired and motivated into learning what's out there.
Because I want to learn about how the changing oceanographic landscape is affecting the whale's pattern and behavior.
To have the opportunity to learn about the preservation of endangered whales.
I was born in Israel and I moved here when I was 6 years old, and both my parents have a biology background, so that's why I became really interested in sciences.
As someone studying civil engineering, I'm looking forward to broadening my horizons as far as what I'm studying, what I'm researching. Instead of just concrete, now I get to study whales and see how statistics changes with that.
I'm a very outgoing person. I strive to be the best at anything I can try or be, you know?
There's a real value in communicating science to the public because not many people get the opportunity like we do. So being able to broadcast it to a huge audience is something that we're able to give to you.
What motivated me to join this class was that I had to fulfill my honors requirement, but what kept me in the class was the prospect of this week-long cruise out on the ocean.
Hi, everybody. Right now we've got Erin Chili joining us. She's a senior marine biology student at the University of Rhode Island. Erin, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody and let us know what got you interested in taking this class and participating in this research cruise. It's not something I think that most undergraduates get a chance to sign up for and take part in.
Well, Holly, as you mentioned, I'm a senior marine biology student at the University of Rhode Island. I've been interested in marine biology since I was about 4.5 years old. When I first saw the movie Free Willy, and actually I have a stuffed animal, Willy, who I got when I was about 4.5 years old.
Willy?
This stuffed animal, Willy, he hangs out in my butt for most of the cruise, but yeah, he's my inspiration. Yeah, so
And how did you find out about the class or to sign up for it?
actually my professor told me about it, and I was so excited because it's basically my dream to go on a boat and look for whales and zooplankton and to get experience like this.
Awesome. So why don't we talk about some of the things that you've been doing, the different equipment that's been deployed. In addition to, I talked about the VPR, which Erin has gotten very friendly with, working with all the data in the computer lab. Mentioned the bongo nets, but there are other instruments that you guys have deployed and other work you've been doing.
Yeah, so some of the instruments that we've deployed are the conductivity temperature depth meter, which is a big ring structure that collects about 12 water samples every time it goes down, and we bring it back up. And we deployed the video plankton recorder, which takes pictures of the plankton, and I've been spending a lot of time in this computer lab looking at those images and using a classifier to separate the images into different types of zooplankton, so fish, copepods, amphipods. Yeah.
If we go back to the CTD, only because I know I was out there with you when you were deploying it today, is that, so it's not just they pick up the instrument and they put it over the side. There's prep work that goes into each deployment. How is it working with the CTD and getting it ready?
It is a very complicated process. There's a lot of wires to keep the instrument open, because if you don't keep all of the bottles open, they'll implode.
Right.
So you have to make sure that it's all jigged up correctly. It took about 3 of us to do it.
Is it easy to open the bottles and get them latched?
Especially when you're heightly challenged like me, you can't really see the top. So the taller people will work on the top row while I work on the bottom row.
That's where teamwork comes into play. So the students are actually split up into 2 groups of 4, and they're on what we call watches, where 4 of the students will be down here on the deck doing microscope work or deck work, deploying instruments, and then the other group will be up top on the flying bridge where they've been scanning for marine mammals, and then they switch every 4 hours. So it's nice that you have a group. I think the students have really learned about teamwork and helping each other out. I know that when Erin was having a tough time getting those top bottles latched, her group mate Ethan, or it might have been Michael, who are both taller than both of us actually, were getting in there to help her out, so she worked on the bottom latches and he was able to work on the top ones. So the flying bridge, so that's something that we haven't chatted about yet. So that's the area above the bridge where the captain is, and what have you guys been doing up there?
So we've been spending about half of our days up on the flying bridge looking for marine mammals. So right whales, humpback whales, sperm whales, sei whales, minke whales, and different types of dolphins, maybe turtles and basking sharks. So we use these 2 giant telescopes.
Not microscopes.
Not microscopes. And we have 2 of those, and we have 1 person in the center. And we actually saw a whale today.
Yay!
Our first whale of the cruise. It was a right whale. There may have been 2 of them. We're not really sure.
So, yep, so we saw the first whales, and this was a big deal because ultimately this is what we've been looking for the whole cruise. Is we've been collecting all of this data about the plankton, so the food that's in the water that these whales and other animals eat. And then we've been taking oceanographic measurements of the properties of the water with the CTD, or taking just a Niskin bottle, a single sample of the water. And you look at the acoustics and where the prey layers are, and there are all these different pieces of this puzzle, and trying to figure out where the whales might be going and why they're there. And with right whales, that's a really great sighting because these are critically endangered animals. There's less than 500 left in the North Atlantic right whale population. So every sighting, especially right now as they migrate up into our area, is very important. So it was exciting for us the last day to see a whale. I know Erin wanted to jump up and down on the flying bridge, but then the people underneath us in the real bridge would have been very unhappy.
I was dancing around instead.
Excellent. That's what she did. So I can see that Genesis is starting to write down some questions, which is fantastic. Make sure, again, you're typing those in, and we'll try to get to as many questions as we possibly can tonight. But if we don't, you can use the hashtag EndeavorLive, and then we'll be able to find your questions later on, and we'll be able to respond to them at a later time. One last question for you, Erin. This experience, you talk about how you've really been interested in marine science since, we have Willie here, and he's come along for the ride. Has this been what you thought it would be, and how do you think this is going to impact you as a scientist? Is this experience on a research vessel, is this what you could see yourself continuing with this type of science or career path?
This experience has been absolutely amazing, and getting to know the people, not just like my fellow students, but also the crew who works on the ship and some NOAA scientists. I want to work for NOAA when I graduate, so making these connections is really important, and it showed me that, yeah, this is probably something that I really would like to do when I graduate.
Excellent. All right, so Genesis, I think you might have some questions for us, so why don't we start fielding some of those?
Yeah, I do actually have a lot of questions for you guys. So one of the questions that we got was, what would you tell a student looking into marine science?
What a great question. So the question was, what would we tell a student looking into marine science? I'm going to let Erin field this first because she is legit a student in marine science.
Yeah.
So what advice do you have? Because I think advice coming from actual students is really key, and that's an important part of this. They've been communicating their experiences, sharing, their points of view, and I think getting that out there to their peers and other people is really, really great and just really important. So what would you tell other students?
Well, when I was little, I used to read a lot of stuff about whales, so I would read about how to identify them. So I would definitely, it's helped for this trip. So I would read up, get as much experience in the field as you can. If you go into the field and you don't like it, then you'll know you don't like it. Like, for example, there are some people on this boat who are like, yeah, I don't want to be in marine science. And then there's me.
There's
I'm
one
like,
nodding behind
yes,
the camera right now.
I want to be a marine scientist.
So
just getting that experience, even if it's unpaid internships. I worked at Mystery Aquarium for a year as a docent in high school.
Yep. That's what I always, Erin's pretty much got it nailed down. That's what I always tell potential students is that go out and dabble. I love that word. Dabble in what you can. It doesn't even have to be straight up marine science. You could go volunteer at a zoo. You could volunteer at a humane society and work with, animals there. You could volunteer at a vet clinic, or you could volunteer and help out at a daycare center and see if you like working with kids. There are all different facets to marine science. It's not just, I'm going to go on a boat and I'm going to do research. And I think actually a lot of the students, that's one of the things that I've heard during this cruise. Genesis actually was saying to me earlier today that she didn't know as a psychology major that there are so many different aspects to oceanography and the instruments that were used and the people that were involved in it. And I think that's really true. It's a very broad field. There are lots of different things that you can do with it. Myself, I was a marine mammal scientist. I was the same as Erin. I was the nerdy kid reading all the marine mammal books, and my mom brought me into the Baltimore Aquarium to meet the trainers, and I quickly learned that wasn't something that I necessarily wanted to do, but and I dabbled. I figured I'd look through a microscope counting little Daphnia with algae my freshman year at UNH, and realized I have eyelashes that are too long and not meant for looking through a scope. And so that's what I encourage you to do is be as broad as you can. Don't focus on one thing and see what you like. I knew I liked whales from the moment I saw one breach out of the water on a 7th grade whale watch. But I ended up working with sea lions in the end. So you just never know. Awesome question. Genesis, what else do we have?
We have another question for you guys. So who are your favorite crewmates And who has been the most helpful?
Oh. Who are your favorite roommates and who has been the most helpful?
I don't want to pick favorites.
We only have one roommate, so we're each with one other person. So I'm actually bunking with another student, Gwen.
I'm bunking with Genesis, who's asking the questions up here. She's a great roommate,
So of course
by the way.
she's the favorite right now, right? And who's been the most helpful?
Just everyone.
Yeah.
Betsy has been a great help with the VPR and teaching us how to deploy the gear.
So Betsy's a scientist with NOAA from Woods Hole, and she's a plankton biologist and expert.
Lynn Butler has been great at teaching us how to be safe and how to deploy the gear. She's the marine technician on the ship.
Yep. And of course, Dr. Wishner and Chris Orphanides they've been super helpful as well. That's our chief scientist, and then Dr. Wishner is a scientist with GSO, or the Graduate School of Oceanography. It's been really kind of special for me to watch the students side by side with all these oceanographers and the techs on board, and really learning how to work with the equipment and the data. I think that the experience they're getting from actually doing the work, but then also seeing and processing the data, and then figuring out how you guys are going to have a final paper. They're apparently putting together some classification model and figuring out, looking at the locations and where we've seen whales or where whales have been seen before. It sounds like they're putting something pretty spectacular together for the end of the class. Bradley behind the camera is nodding yes, so yes, they are. Genesis, do you have another question for us?
I do have another question for you guys. So this question is actually pretty interesting, I believe. So have you guys had any food parties or any pizza parties?
Food parties.
Food parties. All right, so have we had any food parties, any pizza parties on board the ship?
Well, we get 3 meals a day here on the ship, and each of the meals is absolutely spectacular. It's so good. I don't want to go back to dorm food, college food.
She's not the first one to say that either. They've all said that the food on board the ship is way better than the URI cafeteria. I will say I think it's better than the food that I cook at home. So I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
In the evening, after we've all finished our work, we all gather in the library area and the kitchen area, and we snack on whatever food is left. We have Kit Kats, ice cream bars,
one of the
raisins.
students, Lizzie, has termed it the treasure chest. So it's an actual ice cream or chest or freezer chest that's full of ice cream that the students discovered, I would say, by the end of the first day. They found it, and we've all been enjoying it, I think, at the end of each day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's nothing like an ice cream cookie sandwich while you're playing cards. It's actually quite good. So we're well fed, and I always tell folks that's why if you like oceanography and you like to cook, be a chef on a boat. I mean, that's the best of both worlds, and you're keeping everybody happy. If it's raining, which the kids have been going out, the students have been going out in the rain and the wind and the cold, to come back in and to know you're going to get a really hearty, warm meal, whether it's breakfast in the morning if they've been out early, or later in the day. There's always snacks out, so it's a really important role on a ship. Besides the captain, the chef is very critical to keeping morale high. Genesis, let's take another one.
So another question I have for you guys is, how would this experience help your future career as a marine biologist?
Okay,
I believe that question's for
Yep,
me.
I think that's going to go to Erin because technically I am a marine biologist, so let's go to Erin.
So how this experience affects me as a marine biologist? Well, I think it just solidifies the fact that I want to go into this field, and that I probably would want to work for NOAA at some point. It's also given me some great experience connecting and being able to translate my science knowledge into something that other non-science majors and the crew can understand. The crew has been really interested in what we've been doing, so it's been really interesting to share what we've been doing with them.
Awesome. So Genesis, I think we have time for one more question.
So this question is actually coming from me. So if you had to follow up this whole experience and sum it up in one word, how would it be, or what word would it be?
In one word, this experience is like a dream to me. It's a dream. This is basically what I've been wanting to do since I was 4.5 years old, and I finally get to do it, and surrounded by amazing people.
So I'm gonna cheat and go hyphenated one word. I would say mind-blowing. And I think it's because, for me today, as lame as it is, we saw a right whale. It's the first time the marine mammal person has seen a right whale. So that was mind-blowing. But then watching this group of students that didn't know each other come together on this boat, get over the adversity of really cruddy weather on Wednesday. I mean, we're talking about significant seas, pitching ship, and they all stuck with it. They were all laughing. By the end of the day, by Wednesday or Thursday, what happens on a ship, you don't remember what day it is. You know, they had really rallied. And then when we saw the whale today, we were all topside, and it was one whale, you know, that was far away a little bit, but we all saw the V-shaped blow, and when the tail showed, it was just a moment to share that all together after everything we had been through. I know it's kind of cheesy, but it was absolutely fantastic. And to know that they've been taking the time to share their experiences, you know, not only with each other here, but with everybody through these broadcasts, or they've been posting on Instagram. You know, I've been capturing things. They've been putting up with me, asking them lots of questions on camera to talk about things, and they've been very willing to do all of this. So that's what makes this absolutely fantastic. And I really hope that other students, if they have an opportunity like this, you know, even if you're a little bit unsure, just jump in, because you just don't know. And if you don't like it, you don't like it, but everybody else here will carry you along to make it worthwhile. So I think that's our last question. It was a great one. And I think what we're going to do is I want to encourage everybody, again, we have one more day. Follow along on Facebook and Twitter. But thank you so very much for joining us tonight. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Genesis. Thank you, Bradley, behind the camera. And thank you to everybody who has been tuning in. I know there's lots of folks that have tuned in multiple nights. There have been people that have been commenting on our Facebook posts, chiming in on Twitter. It's been really fantastic. And I know that the students and myself and everybody involved in this expedition have really appreciated that. It's something that we are very passionate about. And I think hopefully you all could feel the enthusiasm and the passion that these students and myself and everybody else on board really feel for oceanography and communicating that with everybody else. Again, make sure you check out the Interspace Center's website for all of the other ships that are going to be coming online. The URI Honors will kick off next week, so we get to follow up this awesome expedition with the start of that exploration season. And otherwise, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll catch you later. Bye.
Bye.